I want to come back on air with some breaking news because we are getting reports from that White House Correspondents Dinner here in Washington that there are suspected gunshots within the building. Let's take you there now live. This is the scene there, and you can see many of those journalists that have gathered for that gala here in Washington still there at the event. We understand that President Trump has been evacuated from the building tonight. Again, this is the White House Correspondents Dinner, an annual event here in Washington, often attended by the president, but President Trump has not attended as a sitting president until this year. We are getting reports of suspected gunshots within the building tonight. This is just breaking in the last few minutes. We understand that President Trump was evacuated from that dinner by his security detail. That's according to a reporter from Axios. But again, you're looking at live images there. You can see many people still actually within that room, standing and talking. We have gotten some reports, and we'll try to bring you some of what we're hearing from our journalists, our BBC journalists that are indeed at that event tonight. We've been checking in with them so far. We know that they are safe, and what they told us was that they are taking shelter. They can see the FBI Director Kash Patel, in fact, just feet away from them. So this is an event where journalists from really across the city often gather. We know that tonight several members of the security cabinet, of Trump's security cabinet, or his advisors are all there. We know that Kash Patel, we've seen, really the top advisors to the president also there in that room. So this is a gathering not only of Washington's journalism elite, but really many of the most important politicians within the nation's capital.
Further out, then move towards the outside of the room, and
Tom,
then
let me
towards
just
the hotel exits.
let me pause you right there, Tom. Let me just to update our viewers on what they're seeing now. This is that moment, and this was minutes ago, and you can really see that dramatic scene here. That moment when those gunshots, suspected gunshots, were heard. That's the president. You can see where he was seated, and we saw within a moment many, as Tom was describing, heavily armed men storming that stage, and that's the moment there where President Trump, everybody really up on stage, including the Vice President, Melania Trump, all whisked away there. And then if you look down below in the room, pretty much everyone there crouching under their tables. We heard the accounts of Tom, Katrina, others who were there ducking under their tables. And this is, again, that moment here. This is the camera panning. You see the reaction, and already, whether it's Secret Service, FBI, as Tom was saying, very heavily armed agents with their guns up on stage, moving those VIPs, which does include the President of the United States, out of the room. There's a tight shot there. You can see President Trump, his reaction. And again, this was a noise that everyone from Tom to Katrina are describing as suspected gunshots, but potentially outside of that room, not within the banquet hall, but still that immediate reaction of those security forces moving in and taking President Trump to safety. We do know that President Trump and J.D. Vance, according to reports, are safe at this hour.
A man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly and have just released, for purposes of transparency, clarity, I've ordered it to be put out. You probably have it by now. Put out on Truth and put out on many other platforms. A tape showing the violence of this thug that attacked our Constitution, and also showing how quickly Secret Service and law enforcement acted on our country's behalf. Really did a great job. One officer was shot, but saved by the fact that he was wearing obviously a very good bulletproof vest. He was shot from very close distance with a very powerful gun, and the vest did the job. I just spoke to the officer, and he's doing great. He's in great shape.
You saw the very worst by the actions of that coward that the president just talked about. But you also saw the very best because you saw law enforcement do exactly what they're supposed to do. This investigation is ongoing. I expect you will see charges filed shortly. The charges should be self-evident given the conduct, but as you'll hear, there will be multiple charges surrounding the shooting, around the possession of firearms, and anything else that we can get on this guy.
As you mentioned, it all happened so quickly, and I wonder, especially because unfortunately you have experience with these sorts of threats, in that moment, when you realized there was a threat and service agents were telling us to get down, can you describe what was going through your mind, how you were feeling in that moment?
That's a very good question, actually. It's always shocking when something like this happens. It's happened to me a little bit, and that never changes. The fact, we were sitting right next to each other, First Lady on my right, and I heard a noise and sort of thought it was a tray. I thought it was a tray going down. You know, I've heard that many times, and it was a pretty loud noise. And it was from quite far away. He hadn't breached the area at all. They really got him. But, so it was quite far away, but it was a gun. And some people really understood that pretty quickly, other people didn't. I was watching to see what was happening. Probably should have gone down even faster. Melania was very cognizant, I think, of what happened. I think she knew immediately what happened. She was saying, "That's a bad noise." And we were whisked away along with other people, but we were really whisked away. And again, the performance of the Secret Service and the police, all of the law enforcement, I thought was really good. So it was very quick. There wasn't a lot of time to be thinking, because it was a matter of seconds before we were out the door and gone into an area. We very much, and you wanted to too, we very much wanted to continue it, because I don't like to let these sick people, these thugs, these horrible, horrible people, change the fabric of our life, change the course of what we do. So we held out. You were there. We held out right till the end, but they didn't want to take a chance, and I understand there was protocol. But we're going to be doing one hopefully within the next 30 days or sooner, and I am ready, willing, and able, and I was all set to really rip it. And I said to my people, this would be the most inappropriate speech ever made if I said what. So I'll have to save it. I don't know if I could ever be as rough as I was going to be tonight. I think I'm going to be probably very nice. I'll be very boring the next time, but we're going to have a great event. And you did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Peter?